All right, let's talk about something that sounds like it's been ripped straight from science fiction. But it's happening in labs as we speak. We're talking about storing our entire digital world. Yeah, every movie, every photo, every single document, not on silicon chips, but inside the most powerful information molecule known to exist, DNA.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. The core idea, the promise of DNA storage, is so huge it's actually kind of hard to wrap your head around. It doesn't just improve our data storage, it completely changes the game on what data is and how long we can expect it to last.
I mean, just pause and really think about that for a second. Every video on the internet, every single article, every tweet, all of it, the entire digital footprint of humanity, condensed into something that could fit in the palm of your hand. It's wild.
To put a hard number on that, scientists estimate that a single gram of DNA can hold 215 petabytes of information. Now, what's a petabyte? Well, a gigabyte is 1,000 megabytes. A petabyte is 1,000,000 gigabytes. So we're talking about 215 million gigabytes in 1 gram. The density is it's almost unbelievable.
And you really see the power of this when you compare it to what we use now. To get a few hundred petabytes of storage today, you need a massive, warehouse-sized data center. It weighs tons, and it guzzles electricity like you wouldn't believe. DNA gives you that same capacity in a pinch of dust that, once the data is written, needs zero power, none.
And then you have the other killer feature, durability. Our modern tech is shockingly fragile. Hard drives crash, SSDs wear out in just a few years. But DNA? If you just keep it cool and dry, it's ridiculously stable. We can read the genetic code from a man who died 5,000 years ago, or even from a woolly mammoth that's been gone for 40,000 years. It's just built to last.
So the big question, right? How does this even work? How on earth do you take a digital movie file and write it into an actual molecule? Well, the concept behind it is actually surprisingly simple.
It really just boils down to a 3-step translation. First, you take any file, let's say a picture. It gets turned into its most basic form, a long string of ones and zeros. Then you just map that binary code onto the 4 letters of DNA. Finally, a special machine called a synthesizer literally builds the physical DNA strands, molecule by molecule, to match that code.
And the code itself? It's almost like a kid's secret decoder ring. Seriously, 00 becomes A, 01 becomes C, 10 is G, and 11 is T. That's it. A huge, complex string of computer code becomes an equally long string of genetic code. It's that simple, and that profound.
What's so cool about this is that we're not inventing everything from scratch. We're using technology that already exists in biotech labs all over the world. You can literally just upload a file, send it to a lab, and they can print the DNA that contains it, just like ordering a custom product online.
And you gotta understand, this isn't just a theory anymore. This field has been moving at an absolutely breakneck pace. Just take a look at how fast this has gone from a crazy idea to something real and automated.
I mean, look at that acceleration. In a little over 10 years, we went from storing one book to putting a movie inside living bacteria that actually passed the data on to their kids, to having a fully automatic DNA writer that's the size of a desktop printer. The progress here is just breathtaking. Now, this incredible progress is amazing. But let's be realistic. DNA storage isn't going to replace the SSD in your computer tomorrow. It has these unbelievable, world-changing strengths, but it also has a couple of really significant practical weaknesses, at least right now. And here are the trade-offs, laid out plain and simple. For density, durability, and energy use, DNA is just playing a different sport. It's not even close. But, and this is a big but, its Achilles heel is speed and cost. Writing and reading the data can take hours, even days, and it's still really expensive to do.
So if it's so slow, what is it actually good for? Well, the answer lies in that huge chunk of the pie right there, cold storage. About 90% of all the data in the world is just archival stuff, backups, medical records, scientific data that we almost never look at again. That is the perfect job for a write once, read maybe never kind of storage. And to really hammer home that speed difference, think about it like this. Getting a file from your computer's SSD is instant, milliseconds. Getting it from an old-school tape backup might take minutes. With DNA, you're waiting hours, or maybe even days. So this is for the time capsule, not for your working documents. But here's where things get really, really interesting.
The vision isn't just about passive storage. The next frontier for researchers is to turn DNA from just a storage medium into an active, thinking computer.
Yeah, this is where it gets truly wild. We're talking about building actual computer circuits inside living bacteria. We're talking about creating data backups that can literally heal themselves and make their own copies. We are right at the beginning of the age of the biological computer, the living hard drive.
And of course, this leads to some very strange, very profound questions we've never had to deal with before. You know, if all of humanity's literature is encoded in a colony of E. coli, do we have a moral duty to keep that bacteria alive forever? What happens when your data is a living thing?
But the stakes for getting this right are enormous. We lost countless irreplaceable works when the Library of Alexandria burned. DNA storage offers a chance to create a backup of human culture that is so tough and so compact it could survive almost anything. We could literally fireproof civilization. And that's really the big idea here. We're not just inventing a better hard drive, we're learning to write our entire legacy into the same biological code that life itself has been using for 4 billion years. This is so much more than storage. It's a pathway to a kind of cultural immortality.
Think about it. For the last century or so, we've been focused on learning how to read the book of life, to decode the genetics that nature wrote. But now we're picking up the pen ourselves. And what's going to happen as we start writing our own story into that book? Well, that's a future we're only just beginning to imagine.